All right, this is the second part of the Yeonmi Park analysis. Without further ado.
Through. Now, in Colombia, you're writing, these kids want to be oppressed. They love socialism. They love communism. They complain about capitalism. They say the problem is white people. I mean, I didn't know Colombia used to be a very good, school, higher education.
Okay. At this point, we hear the word, we'll go back, but we hear the word good again. And when they say good, good is phonetically and just by common sense, it refers to God. James Brown even used to say, good God. But it's one letter away from being identical to the word God. And what it means is good means that it's something that would be approved of by God. In the Bible, Jesus is called good by someone, and he even says, well, there's none good but God. So when he says that Columbia used to be a good university, in the same way that he said that Mongolia was a good country, a good nation, a good government, because it had a free marketplace, he's referring to Colombia as good because it used to be in alignment with the marketplace. But as the generations go up and further and on in time, people are beginning to understand that buying and selling yourself, your essence, your being, your soul, is a very childish, unadvanced way of being. Now, he calls it higher education, but it's not a very high-minded type of thing. Now, it's something that an immigrant would do when they come here because they're just beginning to understand. And they're going to be very adamant about how great everything is because it's new. It's like new love. You know, you get into a new relationship and, well, I don't do this, but this is what people do. They get into a new relationship and, especially women, they'll start to bash the person. And the man will be like, oh, baby, I'm so sorry he did that to you. And they forget about all the good times that they had in this former relationship. And, that's what happens. That's what happens when people immigrate here. It's fresh. But after that second, third, fourth, I think it takes 7 generations before you really understand this particular country. Especially. So by the 7th generation, if she continues to mate, as so-called humans do, I guarantee you, her children will be criticizing even this time. And you have to keep up with the times. All right, let's go back.
Institution, and you're saying Colombia, you're writing, these kids want to be oppressed. They love socialism.
No one wants to be oppressed. A lot of the children in school do have a fondness for socialism for the same reason that she has a fondness for capitalism, so we won't linger on that too much. It's just foreign, it's exotic, it's familiar. It's unfamiliar. It's exciting. Something different. And lots of times people long for something different.
Love communism. They complain about capitalism. They say the problem is white people.
Now, once again, he decries that anyone would ever complain about capitalism and the free market. And that's one of the main things. But as far as this hyper-capitalism type of thing that's going on, the next sentence is so-called white people. And there's no such thing as white people. There's no such thing as black people. Now, he purports himself to be a white person while having a white shirt on. And we can see that he's not white. So that means it's an ideological thing. Now, there are people that have almost that complexion. Just like there are people that have almost the complexion of his suit. But inevitably, the people that they call white, at best, they can be a bright peachish color. And the people that they call black, at best, can be a very dark brown color. So that means that these ideologies represent something. They represent a game, like the black and white pieces on the chessboard. And just like the black and white pieces on the chessboard are still part of the chessboard, operated by chess players, the black and white people are still part of that game, operated by the game. But let's not get sidetracked.
I mean, I didn't know it was Columbia used to be a very good, school, higher education institution, and you're saying it's a lot of dribble, a lot of nonsense.
It's beyond nonsense. It's a madness. What they're saying is they talk about oppression. They keep telling me they're oppressed. And America is horrible, that we need to destroy this country. I was asking them, what about America that you hate so much? They say we have inequality in this country. In North Korea, we don't have inequality. We are dying from starvation.
So she's going to come here and slam the students for telling her what America's like. She's been here all of a few years, 2, 3, 4 years, or who knows how long, maybe even 5. I don't know. But she's already acting as if she knows more than all of these students who are telling her things. And I don't agree with anyone, really. And I influence you and all the other millions I'm trying to influence to think for yourself. But this person has just gotten here, and she's already telling the people that have been here for, they're in college, 18 to 25 years probably. That she's telling them about their own country. They're telling her about what's going on, and she won't listen. She's talking about starvation in her small little country. The U.S. is one of the biggest countries in the world. Okay? There's way more people here starving. There's way more homeless people. There's way more crime than the vast majority of places in the world. There's more people in prison here than China. And there's 1.5 billion to 2 billion people in China at this particular point. Maybe more, I don't know. I think that's correct number. But there's only 400 million people in the U.S., I believe. But we have substantially more people in prison. Isn't that oppression? Why is everybody in prison? And why is it a certain demographic that she's going to judge and decry the whole demographic later on? Why is it all of them in prison? Why is this particular demographic more homeless than everybody? This person's very annoying.
The sign of inequality is room for vice. You can innovate, you can get rewarded. Like it was
Ooh. She says you can innovate and you can get rewarded. And that's why she's here. She believes that her story, which is not true, is an innovation. She believes that she's creative. She created herself to sell. She loves the free marketplace, and she's getting rewards for it. Now, inevitably, she's more privileged than all of these children at her school at Columbia that she's saying are privileged. They can't come on Fox News and do this unless they make up a silly little story like this and they know the right people to talk to get the silly little story published, to sell, and to come on and promote. So she's living a greater quality of life from selling this book and selling this fake story she has going on than the vast, vast, vast majority of American children, American adults, American citizens, immigrants, everyone, because of the sensationalist qualities in this story. And her forehead is huge. That's why she's got that bang. Her hairline starts in the middle of the back of her head. She has a huge forehead, okay?
says what's yours is mine. That's what Columbia professor saying. We need to steer from all these rich people, and everything should be free, and everything we need to.
No one is saying that. We need to steal from all these rich people and everything should be free. It's outrageous. It's egregious and outrageous. And she doesn't understand the basic tenets of the capitalist system in the U.S. and how it was set up. And I'm not going to get into that. But it's about stealing from everyone else and deceiving everyone else. That's how these rich people got their money. I'm not going to get into I want to get into a whole side story, but I don't want to make this any longer than it needs to be.
Georgia continue name of equity.
You didn't escape from that country. You escaped from that country because you couldn't find a bowl of rice. Okay, and as soon as you escaped from the country, you became a sex slave and got sold for $20. Stop lying.
Asked them for specific. I mean, just today, um, is Russia such a great place? Even China, which was good, now it's going down. Is Venezuela such a great place? Is Cuba such a great place?
All right, let's talk about all these places he's mentioned as not being great places, and she just looks like she's clueless, because she is. She's fucking clueless. She doesn't know anything about these places, including China. So all of our products, including all of our legal and illegal drugs and the ingredients that go into them, even American flags, a lot of these American flags are made in China, a very large percentage, more than 50, I believe. Everything here is made in China. China has the highest IQ in the world. These are all statistics you can easily look up on the internet or in actual publications. It's not a secret. China has the highest IQ average in the world. And I don't measure anybody's worth or awareness or really even intelligence by the intelligence quotient. But these people would. And China has the highest IQ in the world. Now, Russia has, I believe, if not the highest stockpile of gold and maybe even gold mines. I don't know. But they have they have the most gold in the world, I believe. If not the most, then up there at the top. At the beginning of the Russia-Ukraine war, U.S. was talking about how the ruble was going to be going shambles and nobody would accept it. It's just not happening. What's happening is the dollar is tanking. And I don't think this is a great thing or a bad thing or anything. I just don't like lies and deception. So yes, Russia and China are just fine places. I mean, I've met Russian and Chinese people, and I've met some of them and they were wonderful, and some of them and they were very annoying, just like anybody else. But these tropes, these sayings, these things that people do to try to get ahead in life or what they perceive to be ahead in life, it's just so simple. And I don't mean that in the beautiful way that simplicity can be meant. I mean it's stupid.
I asked
Hold on, I gotta see that again. I don't get it.
China, which was good, now it's going down. Is Venezuela such a great place? Is Cuba such a great place?
Okay, so Cuba and Venezuela are places that have gone against the U.S., and so they consciously put sanctions against these places. They didn't really even go against the U.S. They simply went their own way and decided we want to do things our way, not being influenced by and forced to believe and accept the U.S. dollar and accept these religions and accept these different things. They just wanted to go their own way, and the U.S. tried to punish these people. Cuba even sent people to the U.S. that they didn't like because they thought the U.S. Well, you belong in the U.S. You saying some crazy shit, and they've been punished, but they think the U.S. has tried to break these places down. And the U.S. population is the most propagandized in the world. Billions and billions and billions and tens and hundreds of billions of dollars are spent propagandizing the U.S. citizens and the world according to the U.S. agenda and the Greater Western agenda. And as this person said, the white agenda. Uh-oh, it's getting too deep.
I asked them, like, look at the examples. That there are millions of people are suffering because of the same ideology. And they said, I'm a threat. I'm a brainwashed puppet of right-wingers. And they
You're a threat.
Yes.
You're a brainwashed puppet. Really, not them. You.
And they don't let me speak because the Colombians have something called a safe space. And we cannot have diversity of opinions. It's all about diversity of skin color.
Okay, so this person is against the idea of a safe space. She refuses to listen to the idea that the things that she's saying have been said throughout history in this country and represent an ideology. Well, she's portraying that she doesn't want to listen to that, and she may not know, or she may know. She may just be wanting to live a certain life, have a certain lifestyle. She obviously thinks that she's um, better than other people. She thinks that she's better than these people at Columbia, who, as I might have mentioned before, are less privileged than her. They're not living these lifestyles that the lifestyle that she's living. In comparison to her, probably everybody she's talking to is oppressed. And Columbia is an Ivy League school, I believe. But even then, even those people, a lot of them, don't have access to this type of stuff. Not without making the compromises that she's made. Not the sacrifices. We could say sacrifices, but I tend to want to say agreement. Because she's chosen this. And every action has a reaction, so there will be repercussions, consequences that come with the quote-unquote rewards she mentions.
So that's not a universe, it's a court. It's a space. And they cannot have diverse opinions. It's all about diversity of skin color.
Okay, so when she talks about diversity of skin color, she is specifically talking about the so-called blacks, the so-called black Americans in the country. And one of the agreements that you make when you, as an immigrant, when you come here, is that you have to look down upon and criticize of the so-called black Americans. You have to ignore all of the history. You have to ignore all of the grooming, the caste system, the exile that people heap on this group. And you can just look at these different various Asians specifically, but also Africans and pretty much everybody in the world. How they view the so-called black Americans and how they treat them. And it's not about skin color. It's about history, biology, culture, and religion. If it was about skin color, people would treat the dark Indians and the dark Asians and dark Africans as the same way they do the so-called black Americans. It's not about that. It's about an avoidance of guilt and shame. Because as far as the persecution of the native peoples in America and the persecution of various peoples, specific peoples from West and Central Africa, everyone was involved. Everybody in the entire world. From the northmost point to the east, to the west, to the south, Asia, all over Africa, all over the U.S. and South, everywhere. And in order to avoid the admission of guilt, they have to continue. They have to portray that these people deserve this. We have to say that diversity of skin color is wrong. We want diversity of ideas. We have to act as if these people just want to be involved because of skin color. They group up in skin color, and they've even been able to convince a lot of these people in this group called Black Americans, a lot of them, a very large portion. I can say this because I'm supposedly so-called in this group. Now, I reject all of that shit. I'm in my own group. And by doing that, I can see what's going on. Okay? So when she does this thing about, it's not about the diversity of opinion, it's about the diversity of skin color. If you look at these people, they have the same skin color. So what's white? Does she believe that she's white? She does. She does. Do you understand that? White is a group that did not include Irish and Italian people in the 19th century. First of all, Italians, some of them to this day, look like they might as well come from Egypt or Morocco or even Ethiopia, some of them. But even back then, when Irish weren't considered white, and they're some of the, palest people in the world. And they weren't considered white. They used to put up signs around the north that said, no, what did it say? It said, no Irish, no niggers, and no dogs. That's the type of discrimination Irish people used it when they weren't considered white. One of the greatest mass lynchings in the country was in New Orleans when they were lynching Italian people because of some conflict. I can't remember, but you can look it up. It's very easy. So this concept of whiteness has nothing to do with skin color. It can, just like blackness can. But see, this person doesn't and I don't want to get too sidetracked. I don't want to be on rambling about that because that's just it's a thing. But this person doesn't understand what she's saying. She barely really knows English. She knows it pretty well, which is already suspicious, but she barely knows it enough to really understand how to convey these concepts and understand these very advanced American concepts of life. So she's just repeating concepts she's been trained in. And that's what education is. It's training. Everybody in my family went to Ivy League schools. I have a high school education. From speaking to me, you would think that I have a PhD. I don't.
So that's not a universe, it's a court. It's the same exact same thing in North Korea. They put you in the classroom and they brainwash you. And I saw that in America they're doing the exact same thing. They put us in the classroom and professors were brainwashing to hate America.
Professors do, not just the kids, but the
Hate America. America is a marketplace. All of these countries and nations are not real. They're just ideas. So hating America is just hating the idea of a marketplace. I have no problem saying I hate America. I have no shame in hating America. It's a terrible idea. It's oppressive. It's murderous. It's deceit and lies. It's greedy. It's nasty. I hate America. I hate China. I hate Russia. I hate North Korea. I hate Christianity. I hate Islam. I hate everything that's just fake. And the only reason I won't say I hate you is because you're a person. But I hate everything you stand for, lady. If you are a lady, who even fucking knows?
Everybody.
You're taking economics?
I was taking some economic classes at the human rights and science and Columbia core curriculum.
I mean, microeconomics is just supply and demand. A good socialist should understand that. Maybe not. Macro is.
This guy is so pompous. And that's what happens when you have money. Microeconomics is not just supply and demand. That's stupid. But watch what he says here.
Deadly. Macro is where you go way left off into the wild blue yonder. And that's
He says macroeconomics is where you go way left into the blue yonder. And he does that on purpose. Mentions left and blue, which are democratic spaces, because he believes that the macroeconomic atmosphere is being contaminated by the left, the blue, the democratic, the liberal, And this is something that the Bible criticizes. And he's inevitably a Christian. He keeps mentioning God. A Christian, Satanist, same thing. But he's inevitably a worshiper of things from the Bible. And this is a really idiotic, staged conversation. So I'm glad it's almost over. But let's keep going.
sure. And now you're fighting it how?
I'm fighting to tell Americans to understand real tyranny.
What a fucking asshole, man. She wants to come here and tell Americans about real tyranny. And she wants to negate everything that American citizens will say. American people who have been here for generation after generation after generation. Even people who are probably Korean. She probably wouldn't even listen to them. She wants to tell us what tyranny is. The place with the most prisoners in the entire world. A place that's founded on lies, deceit, and slavery. And it is. A place where, Benjamin Franklin, the person who's looking over this conversation in the picture, they found children's bones under one of his houses. They had all kinds of excuses for why. But you can look this up. Thomas Jefferson had a relationship with a 15-year-old that was his concubine, and he had numerous sexual relationships with the people that he believed that he owned, that he brutalized. George Washington had several sets of false teeth. One of his sets of false teeth was made up of human teeth that he had ripped from the mouths of the people that he brutalized into what he thought was ownership of those people. Now, this person doesn't really care about this shit. Now, I don't know what this symbol is on her necklace, nor can I tell what those are. But once again, this person's forehead is fucking huge. Huge. Is she wearing a mask? She's wearing a lot of makeup. And if you've seen any of these trans makeup tutorials, you know that makeup can change completely how you look. And we'll get into that in another video. But let's continue.
Let them know this is the greatest country in human history.
Look at that. Hold on.
To tell Americans.
Look at the caption here. Protecting America's youth. This person who has been here for 4 years at the most, I think, is talking about protecting America's youth. And she looks like she's a youth. Now, all the while they have Benjamin Franklin at the top, and at the bottom they have gold prices and crude oil prices and stock market indexes. It's absurd. It's completely absurd.
To understand real tyranny and let them know this is the greatest country in human history. It's not a joke. This is a miracle. I don't even know how this country exists. But
Just like he said he hadn't read her book and that he thought she was probably righteous about her dispute with Colombia, she's now saying this is the greatest country in the world, but she doesn't even know how it exists. Isn't it idiotic? What an idiot.
you have some lucky we got this country while destroying it. And I think they don't understand how many people, like there are 300,000 Russian infections in China. Their organs are harvested. People denouncing slavery all day in America.
What a terrible person. Okay, so in the United States, there's more organ harvesting than probably anywhere in the entire world. People just ignore these stories because of the propaganda. There's story after story. I live in the Chicago area. I think last year they found somebody, and these things can be looked up. It happens all the time. They found this guy who had like hundreds and hundreds of body parts just in his house. He worked at some kind of I don't want to get too deep into the story, but on the American licenses, I don't know if they do this anymore because I have a passport. I don't have a license. I don't drive. But on last time I checked, they ask you if you want to be an organ donor, and they ask you if you want to donate part of your organs or all of your organs when you go to the DMV to get a driver's license, because they put it on your license. And then if you get in a car accident and they can't contact your family or you don't have anybody and you have organ donor on your license, immediately they take all your organs. What do they do with them? What do they do with all the aborted babies? There's a lot of babies that get aborted. What do they do with the body parts? I mean, it's just so sad. I don't know whether this person was educated and trained and groomed from birth to be this way. They don't mention the father. And I'm not going to read the book. You know what? Maybe I will read the book. But I feel like it's just going to make me more upset. But it's just so sad that people can be brainwashed. And if she is from this brainwashed culture of North Korea, she's being brainwashed again. Just used. Let's just act like this story is completely real. Her whole life is just being used by people because she has no father. We're just going along with the story.
But they do not want to stand up for North Korean people and the leaders in China.
The greatest country in history.
Put the book back up.
I'm going to get Yeonmi Park. And the name of the book is,
While Time Remains.
thank you. God bless.
Now, while time remains, I imagine she's placing some urgency on, the world to be more like America or stop North Korean tyranny, or maybe she's talking about while time remains for her to get out to find a rice bowl or whatever the fuck. But let's look at the top. First, let's look at her eyes. We're not going to do analysis of it, but she knows what she's doing. Look at that. She knows exactly what she's doing. But let's look at the top here. Foreword by Jordan B. Peterson. Now, listening to how ridiculous this person was when they spoke, this Yeonmi Park person, and seeing the Jordan B. Peterson thing, the foreword by him, I don't know what he could possibly have to say. Does he know this person? What could he possibly know about this person who just got here? This is all part of a team effort. These people believe they're on some team. They're in some group, an alliance, and they want the world to be a certain way that agrees with something that they're part of historically or culturally, biologically, religiously, or all of the above. And they want the world to be a certain way. Now, Jordan Peterson specifically pretends as if he's for this freedom, but his freedom that he's talking about is the same as the freedom that this person's talking about. The freedom to do what we say. And this is why I don't differentiate between economic systems. Both of these people are going to try and sell you water and eventually clean air. Whether they're communists or capitalists, they will sell you water. Or maybe the communists will just give you their mandated water, or the capitalists will sell you the water. They'll make all the water dirty and then sell you the clean stuff. I mean, it's all just very strange. But I find it very typical that Jordan Peterson would write the foreword for something like this. A North Korean defector search for freedom in America. Jordan Peterson is Canadian. He's from Canada. These people are actors in a stage play.